Poetry Review. And so we're going to invite Allison up to give a little spiel about what Borderlands is.
No, I am not reading tonight. I am the director of Borderlands Texas Poetry Review, which means I get to have fun with spreadsheets. Yeah, it is just as glamorous as it sounds. But Borderlands Texas Poetry Review has been around since 1992, founded by some grad students just over down the road at UT who decided that there needed to be more poetry journals in Texas. So we've been going since 92, and we have issues in the back. Thank you. Yes, and I came on just a few years ago, and right after that, all the editorial staff turned over, which is super exciting. And you know, the previous iteration had been a pretty diverse bunch, and I was like, okay, how do we seize this and make it, you know, continue that and, you know, improve upon it. And so we have our editorial team here to read for y'all tonight. So our lovely hosts are doing all the bios, but yes, this is our wonderfully diverse editorial team that just like fills me with so much joy.
So I'm not supposed to embarrass because it's wrong, but Alana is one of my best friend in the universe, and yeah, a very special person. You all should love her just as much as I do. But I'm really grateful for Alana because we talk craft and film and poetry and fiction, and that's really important as a writer to have that kind of relationship. But also it's just really fun to just be like, today I was like, I got brow flake instead of boy brow. She's like, email Glossier, they'll take care of it.
It's true, they are pretty nice.
Yeah, now I have all of it. But yeah, so lesson is find yourself a friend, a comrade in your craft, because it really transforms your entire life. And so with that, I am happy to introduce Alana Torrez. Is a mixed poet and editor from Austin. At different points in her life, oh my God, you're so cool. She has been a military linguist, a fish egg processor, and a middle school teacher. She is a graduate of Texas State University's MFA program. Her work has been published in Real Review, Texas Poetry Calendar, Bearing the Mask, Southwestern Persona Poems, and the very first Ice Cream Social Anthology. Her obsessions, poetical and otherwise, include fairy tales, tree houses, and the paintings of Remedios Varo. Her favorite flavor of ice cream is gingerbread. Please welcome to the stage, Alana.
Well, first of all, thank you everyone for being here. And of course, thanks to Anar and Chandra for the lovely introduction. And thanks to Malvern for always hosting us here, having this space. And also I just want to say that I'm super honored to be able to read with KB and Fazita tonight. So I'm going to read 5 poems for you, and the first poem is part of a series that, I guess kind of loosely a series, that looks at the fairy tales that have come to us by way of Disney, and just kind of like what they say about the world that we live in, and what meaning we can take from them. This first one is actually about Tinkerbell, and I'm pulling more from J.M. Barrie's Peter and Wendy. In this, I imagine Tinkerbell having a different sort of voice. When I read Peter and Wendy, what I noticed most was the way that Tinkerbell was coded as more of like this working class woman, in opposition to Wendy, who's more of the epitome of a Victorian white woman with the inherent values associated. So, I'm going to start with a little quote from the book that is informing this poem. "Oh yes, Tinkerbell will tell you," Wendy retorted scornfully. "She is an abandoned little creature." Here Tink, who was in her bedroom eavesdropping, squeaked out something impudent. "She says she glories in being abandoned," Peter interpreted. The poem is called Better Than That World. The wide waxy leaves of my home, this bramble pit yard, even these boys buying into the meek kind of girl, as if frilly and white canopies were the only way to signal worth. But I refuse to value what she values, like figs, hearts, and darning socks, like onions, carrots, and trimming whiskers. This homely soup is not a recipe I care to learn. When every night I anoint temple and breast with honeysuckle and tear my bed sheets from the field, Peter, I am the kind of knowing that splits in storms, and I can lose you like dust. All right, these next 4 poems are from an upcoming chapbook through Dancing Girl Press. So they've evolved from a couple of sources. One, Roland Barthes' Lover's Discourse, then some from the poems of poet W.S. Merwin, and then also from a Lush catalog that I got a year and a half ago. And I was just fascinated by the language in it, just the way it all came together to be effervescent and have these images that appeal and kind of like pull you in. And then just the textural quality of the pages, the way that the catalog works to really seduce the person who receives it. I'm fascinated by this because I like brands, certain brands, like Anar mentioned, Glossier being one of them. And I'm interested in the fact that I fall for this seduction again and again, even though for the most part, or for all of it, the dreams that are promises are not real, right? The reality is that if I achieve any of those dreams or become that person, it's not going to be because I happen to get brow flick. But nevertheless, I decided that I was going to try and write these poems from the voice of the catalog as a potential lover. So the catalog is called The Paper Suitor in these poems. All right. Paper suitors take on aspiration. Look, the ones you envy stroll brazen as rosemary, brazen as ironic fishnets, brazen as the security of valeted Maseratis. Do not regret all of the nights at home, smuggling dried mango from fingers to lips. The world out there is chaos. Every encounter a costume party, every bus stop a fairy ring that might capture you and spit you out with sore feet that have danced 1,000 years. I'm just saying you might spend nearly forever a troubled mango smuggler and still emerge one night with $250,000 ruby nipples a la Met Gala Cardi B. And some of the language still is coming from the Lush catalog, just some of the words themselves. This next poem, Malleable Things, it takes its first line from W.S. Merwin's poem, Only Sparrows. Malleable Things, or the paper suitor, reassesses shortcomings. By the time I came to you, it was late in the season, and only jam fruits remained, the ones you'd expect. Blackberry, strawberry, apricot, etc. The popular ones not loved less for how quickly they submit. So why do I cringe remembering how simple I felt, bringing you such malleable things? All right, this one is called The Perfection of Certain Life, or The Paper Suitor Reconciles Memory. And it takes inspiration in the phrase texture of memory from Barthes' Remembrance in the Lover's Discourse. Perfection of Certain Life. The nights had the texture of memory. I mean, as they happened, I could feel the perfection slipping into the past, You were reading under the yellow light of the old lamp, a light I know better than all other light now. Your lips were shaping too many words for me to catch, calamine and mica and clarify. How I got used to loving you. This is the last poem I'm going to read for you, and it's also the last poem in the chapbook. And keep in mind, these are still works in progress, so they might be a little bit different in their final forms. This one takes the first line from W.S. Merwin still. Baker Suiter's last promise. Even if I were to remain, it would not be as a tender novelty, as the blossoms that spread to cover the bed, and then the bookcase, the cat, and the frying pan until everything blooms before you. I wanted to reinvent cherry gloss and what you think of when you think of bombs. But I am exhausted. I will return. I will be different.